Rig Racer 2 was released for the PlayStation back in 2005, and this game got a release also on the Nintendo Wii and Windows PC. And this is a budget racing game that focuses on racing utilising trucks and various lorry vehicles that you can access throughout the course of play. The gameplay does also offer up some unique aspects in terms of its modes and the features that are on offer, as you have a selection of various types of vehicles that you can drive with, from standard lorries even to more likes of American style trucks to race as. But you also have various weather elements that can also affect the gameplay. So you have anything from the likes of sunshine to more rain or heavy rain type of effects and showers that can really affect your progress throughout the races, as it can hamper the play style where you can slide off the track at any time. So it does have that realistic take on the overall look and feel of the game. Plus it does also offer damage physics, so as you're racing you have to win races to earn money, but you can also collect various collectibles and money style collectibles on the tracks. And if you damage your vehicles as you're racing, you will have to pay to get the vehicles fixed at the end of each race to progress even further. There's also a multiplayer mode where you can play with your friends in a 2-player split screen mode. Now the game itself didn't get great reviews after it was launched, and a lot of it due to it, with it being a budget type of game, was heavily criticised due to the handling physics and characteristics of the game. As with a lot of these budget type racers, the handling physics are overly sensitive and somewhat very frustrating for most players to experience, as when you're driving around, the slightest little tip or even if another vehicle hits you will put you directly into a spin or into a wall. But even if you're not careful, when you're going around a corner, if you slightly move or accidentally move in a different direction when you're trying to turn the corner, the twitchiness can literally leave you just sliding and swerving all over the track to a point that you will eventually spin out or crash into a barrier, which can totally hamper your progress. So that does add to the frustration of the game. Now there are a number of various modes and tracks to unlock throughout play with different difficulty levels. You have different types of tournament modes, each varying in difficulty, very similar to other well-known kart racing games on other consoles. So the further you get into them, the more you can unlock. It is one of those games that does offer up a unique take on racing games, but just does not execute as well as it should in terms of its gameplay. Now the graphics themselves, you definitely know it's a budget type of game. It's not to say that the graphics are bad, but it's just the gameplay handling characteristics are definitely its worst feature, and again that's why it was heavily criticised, mainly due to those reasons. And even when it was later released on the Nintendo Wii, it hadn't really improved on those elements all that much either, so it was heavily slated on that platform also, which is a pity because there are a lot of these type of games. Like with the PS1, it was definitely an experimental phase in games, as a lot of these budget type of racing games and even just budget games in general were generally a good entry point for smaller companies and independent developers to get their foot in the door with developing games for more mainstream consoles at that time. And even though it was good to get that experience, but a lot of these games when they were developed, even though they were playable, but they weren't executed as well as they could have been. And primarily what seems to be a common practice with a lot, especially with the racing games, is really down to the handling physics, as they get so many elements right, but it's usually always the handling and various features like the collision detection that always falls short with these type of games that really hinders the experience, which can leave it very frustrating for a lot of players. And it's easy to see why a lot of these games end up in bargain bins, especially in the later stages of the console's life cycle, as a lot of players will play them for a short while, or they'll just pick them up in a bargain bin just to see what they're like. But more often than not, a lot of players will just avoid them altogether because they know how finicky and how frustrating they can be, but which really is a pity, as there's such a varying mixed bag of different types of quality racers and not so good racers on the system that sometimes it's hard to differentiate between the two. Now they are worthwhile experiencing if you really want to just experience everything the PlayStation 2 has to offer, and believe me, the PlayStation 2 has, like the PlayStation 1 before, has an incredible amount of racing games. Actually the PlayStation 2 even more so from what I've experienced so far. There's a ridiculous amount of racing games that were on the system, and I've yet to even scratch the surface of what is available. But as with a lot of these budget titles, now a lot of them are hit and miss. There are some genuine hidden gems on the system, but not all of them would be up to scratch, and a lot of the reasons is mainly due to, from what I found in my own experience, is down to the handling, as that's the one major gripe and characteristic that really seems to let let a lot of these games down, which is a pity because they do offer up a lot of unique elements and gameplay features, but it's just always that one aspect that always seems to let them down. But I would love to know your thoughts on Rig Racer 2 for the PlayStation, and what do you think of it? Do you enjoy playing these type of budget style games, or maybe not so much? I would love to hear your stories on these type of games if you have any at all, so be sure to share them down in the comments below. And if you would like to see more content around similar type of games that were also released for the PS2, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to be updated when future reviews are released. And be sure to check out the playlist here on the screen to see more of these unique type of games in action. So be sure to check them out, and I will see you all over in the next one.